Welcome to Fireside Gaming. I'm Billum, and in this retrospective we're heading back to the year 2000 as we tackle an interesting turn-based strategy RPG called Vanguard Bandits. Vanguard Bandits is a game that's been on my radar for some time now, but I only experienced it for the first time when playing it for this review. The game comes from Japanese developer Human Entertainment and was brought to the US by Working Designs. That's the same publisher responsible for bringing JRPG classics such as Lunar the Silver Star, its sequel Eternal Blue, Arc the Lad Alundra, and several others stateside. Before we get too far into this review, I do have to mention that Working Designs were very much a group of localizers instead of translators when it came to publishing Japanese games. I wouldn't normally point this out, but their trademark sense of humor is incredibly hit or miss, it's mostly miss for me, and I want to highlight that. Also, they love to cram American pop culture references into games where there previously were none. These are slight digs against the now defunct publisher, but I'm not going to rake them over the coals too hard since we likely wouldn't have gotten some of the best JRPGs in the US without them. With that bit of history out the way, let's get into the story of Vanguard Bandits. Here's your spoiler warning if you want to go into the game dark. Also, bear with me on the names here, people. There's a lot of fantasy ones from different kingdoms and such, and I'm going to try to keep my pronunciations consistent, but I make no guarantees. Vanguard Bandits takes place on the continent of Eptina. It was discovered by sailors from the ancient lands. Some sailors made Eptina their new home, while others returned overseas with stories of the untainted land full of beauty and resources. And so the population of Eptina grew, and with it came greed, lust, and war. Nations were quickly formed at this time, as battles began to spread throughout the land. This was a period known as the Eptina Wars. The continent lost its natural allure as smoke and blood overtook its once beautiful vistas. Or so it did, until the kingdom of Pharastia made a startling discovery. Unearthed from ancient ruins were 10 giant mechanical warriors. Pharastia quickly learned how to pilot these weapons, and in only a matter of weeks brought an end to the Eptina Wars. With the continent united, the king of Pharastia hid away Ultra Gunner, the strongest of the metal warriors. Seeking to keep the peace, the king distributed the other 9 all-terrain armored combatants, or ATACs for short, to different regions of the continent. While his intentions were good, the power of these knightly machines were eventually used in civil wars and rebellions, which brings us to the Second Eptina Wars. Vanguard Bandits has us following the adventures of 16-year-old Bastion. He and his father, Kamorg, are both ATAC pilots, though not those same ATACs that were used so long ago. Instead, engineers have studied and made new models of the mechanical knights. And while none of them compare to the raw power of the original 10, they still bring strength to the nations that wield them. Bastion and Kamorg have been traveling all their lives on the run from the Janaris Empire. Why, Bastion doesn't know, but his father has taken great care to instruct him in the ways of combat. Alongside these two are Milia, Bastion's adopted sister taken in by Kamorg after the Empire killed her parents, and Puck, a mechanic traveling with the group to test his skills after learning all that he could from his master. The small village the group is staying with is attacked by the Empire, and Bastion and his father take it upon themselves to protect the people. During their battle, they are joined by Ione and Reyna, 2 ATAC pilots from the Avalon Defense Corps. After the dust settles, the two explain that the Avalon Defense Corps is assisting the Kingdom of Pharastia in its battle against the Janaris Empire. Hearing this, Kamorg asks if either of them knows General Galvis. They do, as he's the leader of the kingdom's soldiers, and set them on their task to track the just defeated Empire soldiers. With this, Kamorg asks to meet the general to speak about a debt. The two agree, and while Bastion is confused by what all of this means, his father simply tells him that it will allow him more opportunities to fight the Empire. But there's more to this story than just Bastion. Princess Adria of the Janaris Empire is another key character we'll follow during the events of Vanguard Bandits. She's taken issue with the way Empire General Faulkner is allowing his men to ransack civilians. After confronting Faulkner about this, she sets out to confirm the reports of Empire soldiers acting dishonorable alongside her assistants, Franco and Halleck. When the princess arrives at the battlefield, she finds Bastion and his group defending 2 vagabonds being attacked by the Empire's soldiers. Upset by their actions, she and her companions join the battle. Afterwards, the princess speaks with Bastion and his group. The hot-headed young man has no kind words for her as he blames the deaths of the travelers on the Empire. After chipping away at the princess's pride, Bastion is stopped by his father. He understands that the two have a mutual goal and thanks the princess before she departs. It's at this time that we also meet Devlin and Barlow, the 2 travelers caught up in the attack. They join our group, and coming with them is Andrew, a lecherous man that hid during the battle in order to survive. As they head towards the kingdom of Pharastia, Bastion's group is waylaid once again by Imperial soldiers. But this time the battalions are led by General Faulkner and Sadria's brother, Prince Duyir, who's next in line for the throne. The prince flees the fight when his life is put in danger, and Faulkner takes great interest in fighting Comorg for reasons unknown to Bastion. Comorg is defeated by Faulkner, but he is able to damage the general's attack enough to force him to retreat. But it comes at a great cost. While the life drains from his body, Comorg provides Bastion with a secret phrase to tell Galvard. The Supreme Spirit sleeps at the feet of the lion. Guide the holy lineage to light. He also tells Bastion that he is not his biological father, but over the years, Bastion has become his son in his heart. And with that secret laid bare, Comorg takes his final breath. Before the group can return to Pharastia, they learn that the fort held by Galvard has been taken by the Empire. Seeking aid from Avalon's Duke Zira, they form a rescue party with the intention of breaking Galvard free from the dungeon. While their mission is successful, the group finds themselves up against Faulkner once more as he guards the fort. Aiding him is the Empire's commander Zakov, who disobeys orders and leaves the fort to join the fight. This leaves the stronghold unguarded, and Bastion's group presses their advantage and takes it back for themselves. With Galvard saved and the fortress retaken, we learn more of Bastion's history. Comorg, whose real identity is Alagard, is a former kingdom soldier and Galvard's brother. He saved Bastion when the castle of Pharastia was under attack. While the king died in this battle, Alagard spirited away his only son. Galvard had believed that Alagard fled due to shame, but knows now that his brother was protecting Bastion, the only heir to the kingdom of Pharastia. Bastion doesn't take this news well, as he now knows that countless people have died because of him. While determined to end his life in battle against the Empire, his friends pull him out of his despair. Instead, they convince him to claim his right to Ultra Gunner, the ultimate ATAC, and use it to defeat the Empire. Seeking information about the location of Ultra Gunner, Bastion's party makes their way to the kingdom of Dayan Lev. They do so with the belief that the ruler, Marquis Dayan, might know more about where the legendary weapon is hidden. When they do reach Dayan Lev, Marquis Dayan explains that he holds the Supreme Spirit Stone called Gratis, which is required to pilot Ultra Gunner. The Marquis is unwilling to give it to an unworthy man and first test Bastion's ability in a series of battles. After proving his worth, Bastion is given the Gratis, which shows him a vision of a temple adorned with a sun. But before the party can make use of this information, the Gratis is stolen by Pharastia Commander Ganlon. He then hands it over to Duke Radcott of the Muspel Nation before being betrayed in kind. After a quick battle, Bastion reclaims Gratis and the group meet again with Princess Sadria. The princess has concerns about letting Bastion take Ultra Gunner for himself. However, Bastion promises only to use it to unite Eptina, even going so far as to promise the kingdom and Ultra Gunner to her after the war is over. Satisfied with his answer, Sadria leaves to take care of her own matters at the Empire. This leaves Bastion and his ensemble searching for a temple with a sun, which might be harder to find than expected as none of them have heard of sun worshipping. Well, almost none of them. Reyna saves the day as she once saw just such a temple during her travels across the continent. With that information in hand, the group heads to the temple, but before they can enter, Faulkner appears yet again to stop them. The group sends Bastion inside the temple while they hold off the Imperial forces, and Bastion returns shortly with the Ultra Gunner. The only problem is, Melia has been taken hostage. Faulkner intends to kill her if Bastion doesn't hand over Ultra Gunner. When it looks like Bastion has no other choice, Princess Sadria appears and orders Faulkner to release Melia. While she can't stop him from fighting Bastion, she won't allow him to sully the Empire's honor by taking hostages. As the battle continues, another group of ATACs appear. These ones are piloted by Alden, ruler of Hibernia, and Melior, his second-in-command. While they may seem like trouble for Bastion and his friends, these two have no intention of fighting. Instead, Alden simply wishes to see history unfold before him and will continue to remain neutral in the war. Faulkner eventually turns tail, and Bastion seeks an alliance with Alden, but he again chooses neutrality. Even so, he says he will consider Bastion's request. Afterwards, Bastion explains that Ultra Gunner was inside the temple and covered in stone. The Gratis caused the stone to fall away, and Bastion was able to pilot the ultimate weapon. Bastion questions where Melia is, only to learn that she ran away during the confusion. The group tries to find her, but has to stop when a messenger arrives for Duke Zira. A coup is taking place in the capital city of Avalon, and he must return home. Bastion agrees to join him, and the group sets out for Aelin. When they reach the city, Zira learns that Kaidul, commander of the Avalon Corps and Ion's father, is behind the treason. He and the other soldiers aren't happy about Zira ignoring the plights of his people while traveling with Bastion. While Kaidul can be reasoned with, the other soldiers' minds have been poisoned by lies from the Empire. They kill Kaidul and plan to kill Zira as well. Of course, they're no match for the might of Ultra Gunner, but that doesn't leave Zira feeling any better. The group does learn that Faulkner's spies were behind the betrayal, but Zira acknowledges that it was his own poor leadership that put Avalon in this predicament in the first place. Even so, he can't stop now, and leaves Zion in charge of Avalon while he works with Bastion to defeat the Empire. While morale is low in Avalon, Kingdom morale is increasing with the appearance of Ultra Gunner. This inspires a group of soldiers trapped in Empire territory to launch a new offensive. Bastion and his friends head out to help them in that effort, but not all's as it seems. The leader of these Kingdom forces, Thompson, has betrayed his country to help Faulkner. Yet again, the group battles its way to victory despite this deceit. We learn that the soldiers were being blackmailed with their captured families and that Faulkner had already killed Thompson's wife. It's at this time that we switch to see Prince Duyur's perspective. His father, Emperor Degao, has been assassinated, making him the next leader to the Empire. The only problem is rumors are spreading that the prince is behind the king's death. Duyur intends to take power immediately to put a stop to these rumors and sets off for the capital. After this, Bastion's group decides to take a fort inside of Imperial territory. This is part of the plan to slowly retake the kingdom's capital. They succeed in doing so and push to reclaim the city. However, they meet Duyur, who is warring with them to win over the Imperial army's favor and dispel any suspicion of him having taken his father's life. Duyur fails in his task and retreats, but has an encounter with Faulkner as he does so. It's here we learn that Faulkner is behind the king's death, and he captures Duyur to have him take the blame in his stead. After retaking the kingdom's capital, Bastion leaves for Hibernia to seek an alliance with Alden once more. During his discussions, they learn that Devlin is actually Melior's brother who left the nation when he became frustrated with its neutrality. He vouches for Bastion, as do several others, and Alden agrees to help them battle the Janaris Empire. We also find Melia here, who's been training and rejoins the party with her own ATAC, but the reunion is cut short when the Empire launches an attack on the castle. Leading that attack is Nordalane's Princess Claire. Her father, Duke Logan, has sided with the Empire in the war and is helping them advance their front lines. This results in Bastion having to battle Claire and Logan on a couple of occasions as they progress further into the Empire's territory. During one of those battles, the Empire sends troops to finish off both groups. While this betrayal upsets Logan, he continues to fight against both Bastion and the Empire. It turns out Logan's goal is to experience a true battle, which he believes he can have with Bastion and the Ultra Gunner. After that, Logan agrees to no longer aid the Empire and won't stand in Bastion's way, but he does so only if Bastion will spar with him from time, to which Bastion agrees. After this, the Avalon Corps decides to take a fort inside the Empire to act as their next base. They run into Faulkner here once more, and this time he's piloting the Zulwarn, an ATAC only spoken of in legends and never seen before. It's said to even rival the Ultra Gunner's power. Faulkner even declines a battle with Bastion, as he doesn't believe him to be a challenge, instead telling him to grow stronger on the way to the Empire's capital. Despite Faulkner's taunting, the group moves forward on their journey to the capital. This sees them run into Zakov one more time before defeating him. They also meet up with Princess Sadria once more. She tells them that Faulkner tried to capture her, but she escaped with the help of Halleck and Franco. The princess is ready to fight Faulkner to save her assistants, as well as stopping him from sacrificing the citizens of the Empire to Zulwarn, which requires the literal blood of humans to operate. While the battle is hard fought, Bastion and his friends eventually push past to Faulkner. Bastion, seeking revenge for his father's murder as well as peace for the continent of Eptana, challenges Faulkner. The two take part in an epic duel that has Faulkner revealing his motivations to Bastion. Faulkner's hometown was destroyed in the war between the Empire and the Kingdom, and his mother died at that time. This resulted in his father, Savaro, betraying the Kingdom. The King and Savaro killed each other in combat, stealing away another of Faulkner's loved ones. Angry at the world, Faulkner sought to seize power to bring an end to both the Janaris Empire and the Pharastia Kingdom. Bastion tries to reach out to Faulkner during the battle, offering him forgiveness as he wishes to bring an end to the fighting, but Faulkner is too caught up in his own hatred to listen. With no other choice available to him, Bastion strikes down Faulkner.
I cannot let you win, Faulkner, for the sake of my nation, for the sake of my friends, and for my sake, you shall be stopped.
Enough babbling! Zulwarn longs for new blood! Stand and perish!
I will defeat you for the honor of all those that perish to stop you.
Ha! Dream on, whelp!
You'll never win, Faulkner.
Perhaps this will be more to your liking. Ha!
Take this!
The time has come to end this cheap charade.
You can't seal me in darkness. I summon forth the light. Goodbye, Faulkner. I pity you.
What? This is impossible. His power is breaking through. It's over. Everything I am is over.
Faulkner.
With Faulkner defeated, the war between the Empire and Kingdom is over. We learn that each of those controlled by Zolwarn survived the battle, and everyone says their piece before departing. Bastion closes out the game by saying he hopes he made Allegard proud, and that he's glad the war is finally finished. And that is the story of Vanguard Bandits, or at least it's one of them. This is what's called the Kingdom branch of the game, and it's one of 3. There's also the Empire branch and the Ruins branch as well. Each of them offers 20 missions to play through with different scenarios for players to experience. On top of that, both the Kingdom and Empire branches have 2 endings. The one I just went over is the good ending for the Kingdom branch. I'm not going to cover the bad ending or the other stories of the other branches, and that's because I haven't yet played them myself. I intend to do so down the line, so keep that in mind as we talk about my experience with Vanguard Bandits. I personally enjoyed the story of Vanguard Bandits. It doesn't really stand out on its own in any way, and it relies heavily on tropes that were common of the era it was released. Bastion is a chosen child, several women are in love with him, and there's a big bad that dies due to his own overconfidence. That might make the story seem bad, but hear me out real quick. I have come to greatly enjoy media that takes itself seriously, doesn't rely on being ironic, and isn't self-aware. That means that while the story of Vanguard Bandits is simple and straightforward, it's honest and genuine. And that's something I've really come to appreciate lately in a time where much media can't help but be cynical. It's a real breath of fresh air. Another thing I appreciate about Vanguard Bandits is its gameplay. It offers up a lot of content even on just one run, and it has some of my favorite mechanics in the genre. Among them is the ability to choose a character's stat gains when leveling up. I love anytime a game gives me this option, as it's another layer of control I have over character progression. The combat in Vanguard Bandits takes place on a grid with players having a certain amount of action points to use each turn. Moving, attacking, and using support abilities all take AP. There's also fatigue points to manage. Certain actions, such as attacking or defending, cause this to increase. When it hits 100, that player can't take actions, including defending, during their next turn. Fans of the SRPG genre will also enjoy the buffs that come from proper planning. Surrounding an enemy nets players boost their chances to hit, as well as other benefits. And the various support abilities can be used to great effect to buff a weaker ally battling against a stronger enemy. I also dig the equipment system and mecha in the game. Players can manage 3 types of equipment: weapons, stones, and accessories. Characters have access to different attacks and support abilities depending on the gem and weapon equipped. The mecha they pilot also changes this as well, and players can switch some characters around to different mechs that might better suit their playstyle. And you know there's no way I was going to play this game and not bring up the mecha designs. The fantasy mecha genre is largely ignored, so I always love to see more of it. The Ultra Gunner has a fun design with its Pope motif, the Toreador breaks up the bipedal love with a centaur design, and even the Alba, Bastion's starting mech, has a look that I really dig with its flared out headpiece. The characters also all have that 90s anime look, which is to be expected from a game that originally came out in Japan in 1998. My nostalgia of growing up in the 90s makes me love this, but I do understand that this is more of a matter of taste than anything else. Unfortunately, I do find the music of Vanguard Bandits to be a bit lacking. A lot of it just kind of blends together with many of the other songs, and they don't have their own identities. That doesn't mean that there aren't good tracks in here though. Both of the battle themes are worth checking out, in my opinion. Also, the game features a couple of vocal songs both in English and Japanese. That alone is neat, and I can get behind it. And as you've already heard, there is some voice acting in the game too. It only shows up at the end, and it isn't the best in terms of delivery or recording quality. But dang if it didn't surprise me, and it put a real smile on my face. Overall, Vanguard Bandits is a good game. What it offers isn't going to blow players away, but it does what it sets out to do well. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it, and have no problem recommending it to others. Just not for its physical price. I have my copy digital through the PS3, and it was easily worth that $10 price tag. And while you can still buy PS1 classics through the PS3, I can't help but wonder how long that will last. Hopefully the game gets added to the PS4 and PS5 stores like other PS1 classics have been. Thanks for stopping by for this review of Vanguard Bandits. If there's enough interest, I might do a follow-up video on the other story branches, but we'll just have to see how that goes. If you like what I'm doing, feel free to stick around and check out some of my other reviews on the channel, and as always, take it easy.